Hello everyone, very good evening to all of you. Welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. My name is Savitri Krishnamurthy. Today is our second session on writing essays. I will take you through the basics of writing essays and then we will look at some of the expected topics of 2023. 22 is wrong. Alright, can you see me and hear me? Let me know if I am audible, visible so that I can start the class. All right. Good evening, Akhil. So, everyone ready to start the class? Okay, Ayush. Quickly, let's go through it. Most institutes give you only an essay. Some institutes ask you to write a summary. Let's say there's a discussion or a caselet, anything given to you, you are asked to write a summary. And the timing differs from each institute. Okay. Generally, the timing is 20 minutes. The average is 20-25 minutes. IMB we were talking pre-COVID. Okay. Gave 30 minutes. IMA, on the other hand, will give you an argument evaluation, which we will be doing in the next session. 10 minutes, but then it's a short argument like a CR passage and you have to answer questions. Good evening, Dharani. Yeah, I have to squint and look at your names. All right, so 20-minute essay or a 20-minute summary or a mix like Indore had done should be prepared for all. So every time you write an essay, in case you just before you're going for an interview, also get into the habit of writing a short summary, all right, of a caselet or an essay. All right, if it is offline, you are given only one sheet of paper. Okay, online you will not have, you have one screen, you type on it as much as you want, but like you realize that this is not concept LR fundamentals. This is okay. We are, how did I see every time? Okay, most of the topics you get are discursive topics. That means it's just a formal piece of writing which describes, discusses, explains a particular issue, solution or problem. Right? Now, you can look at the topic and decide what type of an essay you want to write. Right? You have for and against essays which present both sides of an issue, discussing points in favor or against. All right. But whether generally what happens is you can take a reasonable stand and introduce the topic. Whatever point you're making, you justify it with an example or reasons or any other form of justification you need. All right. Your opinion can be presented right at the beginning. This is what I believe in. And at the end, when you say that, therefore, I believe in this. All right. That is one of the ways. Generally, they may ask, what do you think? If you were the finance minister of India, what would budget 2023 look like? That is an opinion piece. All right. Where you have to give your opinions, give your views that I would give importance to A, B and 3, and then you have to support those opinions with reasons, with examples, with statistics. Okay. Now, if you have an opinion about an issue, should India host the Olympics? All right. AWT is next time. Sharda, AWT is totally different. So, AWT is next week, 28th. I'm going to take an entire hour on it and discuss all the caselets I have. But I will tell you at the end, when we finish this, I will give you an idea on how to write it. All right. So, suppose they say, can India afford? Right now, the discussion is all about, should India host the Olympics? Is hosting the Olympics a good idea for a nation or not? Then whatever your opinion, you want India to host the Olympics, you think it's a good idea, you would write that. You know that people are against the idea of India hosting Olympics, you know those also. So you can give your viewpoint, you give the opposing viewpoint, and then you counter the opposing viewpoint before you give your a summary of your stand. That is one of the ways you write an essay. Last time students wanted me to document this, which is why I have added more. Generally, I tell students, if you have 10 or 20 minutes, you can't think of all this. Look at the topic and automatically the type of essay or the style would fall in place. But you can do that. Suppose they give you a problem and they ask, what is the solution to this? Okay. In which case, you look at the problem, you define the problem, you define the players, you analyze the problem, you analyze the situation, put forward a lot of solutions. Here, the problem is many students think of only one or two solutions. That's not the key. Brainstorm and jot down at least 3-4 possible solutions, and then if you do, suppose you come up with A, B, or C, we could do this, or we could do this. Now, if you do this, the consequence, the positives are this, the negatives are this. On the other hand, if you follow option B, your positives are this, negatives, even if you think of 2. Therefore, looking at these, you think A is a better option than B. The key is your coherence. The key is your logic. Alright, and in the end, you say, therefore, I think this is what we should do. Right? These are the main types of essays you can write depending on the topic you have been given. Alright? Else, you say, I can't, bother about all this. I'm going to write just an essay which will be okay. Maybe for and against if it's a topic which says, this should be done, this shouldn't be done. But you want to write a topic where you say an introduction. First, I will write all the points I think which are in favor of the topic. I'm going to put it in paragraph 1. All against, I'm going to put paragraph 2. If it's a general discursive essay, I will define the term, then I'll give what are the different aspects of a particular phenomenon, and then I'm going to give my own view. So you have a template in your mind when you look at most topics, right? So generally remember, if you write one for and against topic, if you write one general one where you express a personal opinion, there are different types of topics I've given. So when you look at the topic itself, you decide which one will I use. Okay. When you write the outline itself, when you plan it, it will happen. We'll go to the next one. We'll tell you. Whatever the kind of essay you're writing, remember the 3 parts of an essay remain the same. The introduction, where we know what is the topic. And if it is a piece of paper in which the topic is already stated, and what are you going to write in your introduction? Your opinion, your stand on the topic, right? Or you restate the topic in other words when you give your stand. Or there are other ways to introduce. Then the main part of your essay should have 3, 2 or 3 paragraphs depending on the time you have given. So P1, paragraph 1 is your introduction. P2, P3 will be the body of your essay. P4 if you have the time, and then the last one would be a closing paragraph where you summarize the main points of your essay. So you say, because of ease of this and this, I believe this is a better thing to do. Clear? One main thing which makes an essay look really attractive, and that is important. It's like you form an opinion about an essay the moment you look at it. And I keep telling students that present each point in a separate paragraph, because clarity and logic are the most important points. Okay, and that comes with rewriting. You don't just write one essay and expect to write a perfect essay. So start practicing your essays. You are the best judge of your essays. When I say that, really, you sleep over it. Next day you read your essay. Believe me, it will look like trash. And then you say, "Nee, ye acha nahi tha. I should have written a better introduction." There itself, you can become a critic. Don't write on the same topic again. Go to another topic and you will figure out that you're writing a better introduction. Alright. So, each point in a separate paragraph. So, let's say you are talking about, let's say India hosting the Olympics. Intro, where you talk about, yes, I believe it should host the Olympics, with your main point here. P1, advantages to India hosting the Olympics. P2, what are the disadvantages of India hosting the Olympics? P3, why you believe despite the disadvantages, the advantages far outnumber the disadvantages. Therefore, it's a good idea to host the Olympics. This is your rough outline, right? Clear justification, explanations, examples, and statistics if you can. And each paragraph, as far as possible, it's not always possible, follow the prep formula. It was given to me by my teacher and I've always followed that. I've often found this part becomes very repetitive. So what is it? What is my point? I believe that capital punishment should be banned. Why do I believe so? Many people argue for capital punishment, death by hanging. In India it is, in other countries there are other ways. Is the main justification is that it's a deterrent to crime, but it has not acted as a deterrent to crime. What is the example you give? Countries which have banned capital punishments, countries which continue with capital punishment. Those who have banned capital punishment, the rate of heinous crimes has not increased, has remained the same or come down, which shows that, you know, crime doesn't increase. And these countries which say that it acts as a deterrent to crime, despite capital punishment being there, the crime rate hasn't gone down, even if there have been a lot of convictions of heinous crime. So I've given my example, I've given my reason. Now, I don't want to restate my point. Therefore, capital punishment shouldn't be banned. I don't want this. So, the last P, in case you haven't made your point in the paragraph clear at the beginning, then only you need to restate the point. But these, either reason or example, if you can give both, fantastic. That is how you think of each paragraph. If you have all these elements, that's a beautiful paragraph. And 2 paragraphs will take you to a good score, right? So what you need to do is, as far as possible, you need to maintain that balance, that I have given my point, I have given a good example, I have given a good reason if I can. In some cases, you can't give an example. In some cases, you can't give a proper reason. You just go with the example and say, this example justifies, this is not good. So that method of or the order in which you write that is different. But if these elements are there, that's a complete paragraph. That's a comprehensive paragraph where you've given your opinion, followed it with an example. So that makes your opinion stronger. Clear? Okay. Now we come to the stages of writing. Remember, all this is going to happen in 10, 15 or 20 minutes. Right? The first part, again, stages of writing, we will follow. For each of the paragraphs, we followed the prep formula. For stages of writing, we will follow the power formula. First part is the planning, which will happen in your head. Paraphrase the topic. Restate the topic in as many ways as you can. Okay, if it's one of those cute topics, you know, 1% of the world are leaders, other 99% are followers of the opposite sex, some junk like that. You really have to think, what is the topic asking? The internet builds connections but destroys relationships. What is the topic asking me? Builds connections, does it do it? Yes or no? Destroyed relationship, does it do it? Yes or no? So that is how you rephrase the topic and ask yourself the questions or issues asked. Jot it down. Got it? Then you think, okay, if I'm going to say internet builds connections, yes, what are the points I'm going to give for it? What are the examples I'm going to give for it? If I'm going to say it destroys relationships also, yes, what are the points I can give for it? What are the examples I'm going to give for it? Then what am I going to say in my conclusion? This is what you're going to think of, okay? Either you put it down in bullet points in a small space. If this is your answer sheet, you can just make a small rough space here and jot it down. Or at the back, whatever. Or right near the question. It doesn't matter. Let the examiner know that you've done your planning. It doesn't matter. Or if you are different from me, a very different person, you can... I don't have much brains. This is vacuum out here. So I need to jot down everything. You remember it? Fantastic. I'm going to give this example, this example, this example. But make sure you think for the first 1 minute at least. Don't start writing the moment you see the topic. You need to take a deep breath. You need to think. पहले बॉल से ही छक्का मारने का कोशिश मत करो. That won't happen. I mean, that's not going to help you much, because you need to plan. And then you need to think of which point should I mention first, the order in which you present your ideas, because they are going to look at what is the purpose of an essay. They want to see if you can build an argument on an issue. How are you building an argument on the issue? And what is the main thing you look for in an argument? Logic, clarity. A needs to B, B needs to C. Therefore, A should not be done because C is undesirable. Right? So you need to show that you've been thinking, just like maths. Point 1, point 2, point 3. If A happens, then B will happen. If B happens, then C will happen. So you need to put that as clearly as possible. So think your best point should be mentioned right at the beginning. You may not have the time to jot them down later. Okay. So think of the order of your essays. All this will happen in the first 2 minutes max. 80% of the time given to you will be spent on writing the essay, and the last 1 minute to edit or review. If you see a spelling mistake, if you see a silly sentence, if you think a particular example doesn't really look good, you just strike it out neatly and write something else on top. Alright, so those are the stages of writing. First, plan your essay and then make sure you go ahead with writing the essays. Not too many don'ts. I find that the moment I say don't, students seem to remember that and do it more. Don't use too many short forms. In fact, I won't use short forms at all. You've done this, we'd better do this. That's best to be avoided. Avoid vague statements. Okay, I've taken this out from an essay. Experts think that this kind of practice is bad. What? If you mention the practice properly in the beginning, no, there is no clear framing of the whatever practice you meant. Okay, people generally dislikes governments doing these kind of things, so government should avoid doing these kind of this, that, these, those. There has to be clarity. Do not. I like short, simple sentences. I think short, simple sentences help you make your point clearly rather than those long-winded sentences. Two problems with long-winded sentences. One is we don't know what you're trying to say. The second part about the second problem with the long-winded sentences, somewhere we go wrong grammatically. Parallelism nahi hoga, tense changes, something happens. But avoid a series of very short sentences. So we keep saying the rule is vary sentence length and structure, and this happens with practice. If you don't have too much time to practice your essays, write the way you do. Okay, many people think so, full stop. They are wrong, full stop. It is wrong, full stop. Therefore, change your mind, full stop. Sounds like you just hitting somebody on the head with point. So try to make it nice, easy flowing sentences. This is as far as style is concerned. Alright. Okay. Now last class I got a lot of questions which asked me like, tell us the ways in which we write introductions. And I told you, when you have 20 minutes for writing an essay, nothing hits you. You panic. You still have the interview to face. So most of you would be in a state of great tension. So actually nothing works. So I tell you, start directly giving your opinion, giving your stand, include a few examples. Acha essay likh lo, logical, clear and logical. But you really want to write, you have time on your hands, you're lucky that something you read worked, then the different ways of beginning an essay are here. One, we say startling statistics, an unusual striking idea, scene or situation. It should be unusual, it should be striking. It's a hook to catch our attention. Okay, one of them is this, when we were talking of the lockdown, right? Imagine millions of people all over the world working or studying from home, not seeing anyone for months. You are locked in a house with just your family members. Don't see your friends, don't see anybody. Don't go out, can't play, can't do this. Imagine a situation. Till the pandemic happened, did you ever think that would happen in your life? None of us ever thought. This is how unpredictable pandemics. And then you talk about, how life has changed. The pandemic changed us all, whether we like it or not. And then you go ahead and talk about it. The other thing is address the reader directly, either with a sentence or with a question. Do you think this is impossible? It isn't. Do you think this is incorrect? You give us a quote or a startling statistics and you say, do you think this is wrong? It isn't. So your style of writing is conversational. You can start like this. You can ask a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question which doesn't expect the answer to be given by the reader, where you ask the question and you give the answer itself. Have you ever wondered how different or difficult life would be without ads? This is about a passage about a topic for GD or essay, which says every ad misleads and confuses consumers, or ads are a waste of time and money, something like that. And start by saying, and you believe that that's not correct. So how would you start it? Have you ever wondered what life would be without advertisements? How different it would be? Have you ever wondered how difficult it would be? When you have just different packets of soap with only names, it's almost as good as seeing packets without any name, just 5 white packets of soap and you don't know which one to buy. Ads would help you make, not really help you make a decision, but they do in many ways. Hello, Sajal. So you have to think of how you're going to start. You can start with the quotation. You can start with the thought-provoking statement. But remember, it should be brief and it should be relevant to the topic. It should not be cliched. The real meaning of life. This was one of the topics given in an essay some years back. And you can start with this. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist. That is all. So what is life? What is the real meaning of life? Is what we are doing really living? Because Oscar Wilde believed that most of us exist, but that is not the real meaning of life. If that is correct, what is the real meaning of life? And you can go real heavy philosophy, you should work there, right? Or on the other hand, you tell the real meaning of life is family, contentment, love, whatever you want to say. The intangibles of life that make life so good. So there are different ways you can start, with an anecdote, with a quotation, with something that catches your interest, right? Next, so you have the introduction. You asked me to different ways. I've given you different ways to start it, or just start direct, giving your stand, giving your opinion, supporting it with a point, ending it. It will be a neat piece of work. It won't be like a Shubman Gill innings with so many sixers. It won't be like a Virat Kohli innings with so many sixers, but it will be a nice, steady innings, Rahul Dravid style, many years back. Like, remember Rahul Dravid asking this guy, I'm sure you didn't watch. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't watch me back when you were younger. I hope you didn't watch me. But there is a steady, average way of writing, which is also very good. And at that time, remember, the point is not how catchy your intro is, how catchy your conclusion is. Finally, the point of a timed essay is very different from, let's say, a short story competition. So keep that in mind and don't get disheartened. The topic is this. What do I know about the topic? What are the examples I know? How can I make it look like a good piece of writing? That should be objective. And that is easy with a little practice. You need to work on certain topics. Now, what do you do in the last paragraph? This is very important because most of you write till the last minute and then say, therefore, just one line. But the conclusion gives a well-rounded look to the piece of essay. It's like the rasgulla at the end of the meal, right? I have a sweet tooth. So you can, just sum it up by summarizing all the main points, right? You can finish with a quotation relevant to the party. You can finish with the rhetorical question. You can ask the reader a question and end it there. So what will the government do this budget 2024 is we have to wait and watch. Okay. Okay. Or a quote like this when you're talking of data, right? Data is the new oil. Okay, when you talk of data, that data is the new oil. What is the topic asking you to do and how do you write about it? Why is data the new oil? Because it's the source of power. Why is it the source of power? It gives the person who's having data a lot of information, right? But that information, you can end it like this, that the person having it will know all the facts about you. But just remember, it's hard to hold on to and hard to keep leaking away. When that is leaked, then the consequences are terrible, right? So let's quickly wind up and then look at the topics. Wind up in terms of the concepts. Language, when there are 3 parameters, max 4 parameters on which most people will grade your essay, right? What kind of language has he or she used? Simple and correct. You want to say something, have you expressed that thought clearly? Have I understood what you're trying to say? Then you have scored points. Somebody was asking me last class, grammatically should it be perfect? Can have a few errors, but yeah, correct language, there is nothing like correct, there's no substitute for correct language. But if you're not very conversant with the language, if you tend to make small mistakes, that's fine. Nobody's going to look at it. Obviously, demonstrate your knowledge of the subject. And again, how much knowledge depends on your reading. They know that you can't be expected to know everything about every subject, but you should at least know the current events, right? Current affairs, important social issues which are there from time immemorial. These are the 2 things you should know. Right now, there's judicial activism. You think judges are interfering too much with the work of the government? The second one is the way judges are being appointed. Supreme Court is not happy with the way judges are being appointed. Third, 2024 elections are there. So what do you think are the issues in the elections? And then you can have a very general question on elections, that in India, elections are not fought on issues. Elections is just 5-year mela, but not fought on issues. People vote for different things, and these issues are not the same. We are such a large country. There are so many issues that each one, you vote for a different reason. You vote for a candidate for a different reason. Do you vote for the candidate? Do you vote for the party? Do you vote for the ideology? What is the ideology? Do parties really have ideologies? Is a secular party really secular? You go into so many other things. So what I'm saying is, demonstrate your knowledge of the subject. Read up every day. Read the newspaper. Make sure you read the editorial. The editor comments on the most important news event of the day. So you need to get into the habit of reading. And if you do that now, whenever your interview is due, you can answer better during your PI, and you can also write better essays. Follow the rule, 1 thought, 1 paragraph. I have already told you. For each paragraph, follow the prep formula, and in an offline test, write legibly. Don't make it too small. Don't make it too large. Acha, page bharti kar diya. The examiner will think I have written a lot. No, the examiner will glance through it and finally summarize your essay and say, this guy's just made 1 point in an entire page. Okay, they are not fools. So don't underestimate the intelligence of the examiner. Write legibly. Your handwriting need not be beautiful, but it has to be legible. Can be read. Right? That's important. Alright, we'll just look at WAT topics of previous years, and I want your inputs now. Can government schools provide quality education? What are your thoughts on this? How would you, what are some of the points you would make? Yes, no, what kind of essay will you write? Okay, for and against, okay, or discursive, opinion based, or suggestion solution based. Can government schools provide quality education? What kind of essay are you going to write? First, second, third. For and against, discursive opinion essay, or solution suggestion. What kind of essay are you going to write? Quickly, let me see your answers. After you decide, then you tell me, are you going to say yes they can or no they can't? If they can, how can they? If they can't, why can't they? Okay, opinion based. In your opinion based, Akhil, you'll say, okay, I'm going to write an opinion based essay. How are you going to start with opinion based essay on this? You can talk about what is the relevance of this topic, right? Why is this question being asked? Right? And then you could probably talk about what do you mean by quality education. And in your opinion, as a government school, it's got lots of funding or whatever, it's got lot of support. So it probably is best placed to provide it or cannot for whatever other reason. Right? Something like that. Right? Are you going to compare a government school in our country vis-a-vis government school in the US versus any other system? Are you going to talk only about India? Are you again going to compare it with government school versus private schools? And are you going to compare it in terms of different parameters? What do you mean by quality of education? What do you mean by quality of education? When you say yes, they can provide good quality education, Akhil, what would you or no, they can't, whatever is your opinion. What would be the parameters for judging quality education? Compare government schools with private, yes. And when you mean quality, what do you mean? Results, students going in for higher studies, what are you going to look at? What are the kind of students who come to government schools? Right? Hello, Shubh. Right? Suddenly you are looking at this and suddenly you find lots of points here. Right? Therefore, the first step here, like Akhil said, okay, it's an opinion essay. Yes, it's asking an opinion essay. I have to, however, look at defining what I mean by quality education, giving my stats in terms of government schools vis-a-vis private schools. Then I'm going to give my definition of quality education and I'm going to argue why they can or how they cannot provide quality education. Infrastructure, fees, teachers. Now also remember that the quality of students, when you're talking of private schools, you are talking of somebody who is economically well off to afford a private school. Among even the poorer people, there are a lot of people who want to send their children to private schools. But even there, that's the thing is, you're taking students who have absolute nothing. And then what are you going to do? So therefore, the purpose of a government school is very different. First, to give them education, good education, but may not be the highest quality. So what do you mean by quality? This class is not shown in the timetable. Or Sejal, I'll ask them why not. Okay. But anyway, watch it. Now that you've attended it, it's fine, right? This is there. And again on the 28th, I think I have another session on AWT. All right. Next one. An MBA can't replace what is happening to the plurals. Lessons learnt by hands-on work experience. True? Yes or no? What kind of essay will you write? First think. So an MBA. So you have work ex, actual hands-on work ex, versus an MBA. What are you going to do? Is this better, that better? Which is better? Some people believe in this, some people believe in that. What are you going to do? All right. Ambedkar's argument that caste-based reservation system makes the caste system permanent. Do you agree or not? Absolutely. Very nicely written. Sharda's written a very nice thing that it's possible when rules are framed considering the quality needed and are strictly enforced along with periodical assessment of each school. Okay, with proper quality checks. Yes, public schools are best placed to give quality education. Some of our best higher education institutions, including the one that you all are aspiring to, are government institutions. I mean, they are autonomous, but at the same time there's a national, they're not private, right? Autonomous institutions, but they are not private. All right. Very many students found this tough. Weak institutions create strong leaders. Agree, disagree, how, what, write on this. Will try, Shubh. All right, take classes for TISNET and CMAT also. Okay, we'll try. You've got fantastic teachers already taking classes for that. All right. Then something last year, I believe, was about smart city. Are smart cities really smart? What do you mean by a smart city? Lot of options here. One is the term smart city. Second, the purpose of a smart city. And you have your essay. What is a smart city? What is the purpose of calling a city smart? Do they get any advantages? What is it? And go a little into that. Most students found that they agreed with this. Just by labeling a city smart, does it become smart? But what is the smart city initiative all about? Please read up about it. Got it? Thank you, Shubh. All right. Now, this is an evergreen topic. This can be asked in different ways. So, you have to prepare a general write-up on economic growth. Can it happen along with environmental protection, or are they, like, if there is economic growth, the environment will get damaged. It's inevitable. They cannot both coexist. They cannot coexist. Is that what you feel? Give enough reasons, examples, above all statistics. All right. So, is sustainable development possible? It's all about sustainable development, right? So, think of you need not write an essay. This is like a topic that you need to read about and have your own opinion. What generally when we talk of economic growth, what does it entail? And you look at it, that everything it entails means using resources. Now, the more you develop, you use more resources. And when you use resources, you end up doing environmental damage. And when you talk of economic growth, you're talking of industrial growth, you're talking of industrial production, you're talking of manufacturing. When you're talking of all this, there are the consequences of that. What do you do with the pollution, the effluents, the side effects of industrial growth? And who is affected most by that? The environment. But who is feeling the consequences of a damaged, destroyed environment? It comes back to us. So what is the way? So this can be an opinion essay. This can be a for and against essay. But most of all, this is going to be a problem. How is it a problem? And what is the solution to it? You can write any kind of essay about this. Just make sure that the points are very clear. Alright, so all of you please write an essay on this topic. You can frame it in any which way you want, but give your opinion on this and write a nice piece on this so that any question related to this you can answer. Clear? Every every year there is some question on business and ethics, which I discussed last class, at least the topic I mentioned, or environment and development. Mutually exclusive concepts, two sides of the same coin, one cannot happen without the other. Is sustainable development possible? Is it a mirage? Is it a myth? So many things. Okay, now you can definitely expect this. Some groups, right? Priorities and problems. Priorities, challenges and expectations of budget 2023 if your interview is before the budget is presented. If your interview happens after, then you can either get it as part of your essay or interview any topic related to what was the budget like. So the essay that you have to write is, if I were the Prime Minister of India, if I were the Finance Minister of India, what would budget 2023 look like? Or you can write budget 2023 in terms of what should be the government's priorities? What are the government's priorities? What are the government's likely priorities? What are the areas it's going to give importance to? What are the challenges or problems? Priority would be changes in the tax code. Priority would be infrastructure. Give incentives for infrastructure development. Give incentive for R&D. Priorities could be give incentive to the core sector, manufacturing, because it's make in India, right? EdTech, these are all government's priorities. But also remember, this is 2023, the last full budget before the 2024 elections. So the government's priority will also be that next year elections are there. So the government will give priorities to jobs, to healthcare, to welfare schemes. That will also be part of its priorities. Yeah, as I said, EdTech sector. So education, EdTech comes under it, right? So those are the priorities. It's going to give priority to a lot of welfare schemes. It's going to give priority to health, to tax, reduction, some kind of easing of tax for the common man. Healthcare, health is definitely going to be given importance. So those are the priorities. But what are the problems? The world is going through a recession. Global economy is facing a downturn. India's GDP expected growth is down. It's not expected to grow. There's a reduction in the prediction, right? 6.8 or something they said, but and we are having a fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is revenue versus your spending. Deficit is when you're spending more than you're earning. Government revenues are less than what the government is spending. We also have a current account deficit. That's at my memory for numbers is not very good. At a 9-year high or 8-year high, 9-year high, if I remember, 9 was the number. So if you have a current account deficit, that means you are importing more than you're exporting. So all these are the problems the government has right now. Okay. And then what are the expectations? Now expectations again becomes a big question. What expectations? Different people will have different expectations, no? They have different sectors. Stock market has different expectations of the government. The IT sector will have different expectations from the government. The pharma sector, FMCG sector, bank. So each one will have different people. At the common man level, we have some expectations. So government has to balance its priorities. It has, these are the challenges, and then the spirit, this triangle is there. These are the expectations. So it has to, farmers expect certain shops, they expect certain things. So you have to, all three, if you write, any topic asks, then you balance. Then what do you think would be your three main priorities? What do you think would be the biggest problem the government, you put it down in that order. And in these expectations, what do you think the government is going to do? Which of the 2-3 things that are you going to give importance to? Then you have a good essay. Every newspaper is having its own, series of articles on the budget. Please read them. When you read it, the key is this. I've told students so many times before, don't start jotting down points. Then you're just repeating what somebody has said. Read. read the entire article. Okay, the headlines you can jot down, and then write in your own words whatever you agreed with the author of the article. Write those points. Read another article and you'll see a lot of commonalities. If there is any disagreement in one area or disagreement in terms of priority, you'll remember it and put that down. Which one do you find better? That is how you write a nice essay on the budget, which will help you. If you don't get it as a essay topic, definitely will be part of your PI. So something that's very useful for you to know. All right, and keep budget 2022 as a benchmark. What were the areas of importance the government had in 22 and 23? What do you expect? What do you expect to change much? All right, that's something that you need to look at. Hybrid work model, is it good? Somebody described it is getting the best of both worlds. Okay, who is getting the best of both, of the employees or the employers, or both? There are ways of looking at it, right? Look at that. Then World Cup football. Some people said it united the world, it brought it together, and then there was another side which said no, it divided the world. What do you believe? Okay, I have given a list of topics in the last session also. I hope I have not repeated those. Freedom of press is a myth. Another evergreen topic. Right? And what is the biggest problem? Earlier, newsprint was expensive, and newspapers to survive, they can't just live on the money that is paid by a subscriber, because newspapers have to keep each page. It's a daily thing. So they have price constraints. They can't price it very high because they want to reach everyone. So how do they survive? They depend on ads. The person who's giving the ad has control over the newspaper policy. Now, you can't take money from Ambani and start criticizing Reliance. The other point why press freedom is really only on paper, may not actually be the way it is editorial policy is governed by ownership. Who is owning most of the big newspapers, publishing houses, television channels? It's again the business barons. So then, are the newspapers really free? Can you really blame? I know there are different horrible names given to the press. They call them prostitutes, but are they really free? When your owner, the person who owns the newspaper, is a businessman, he is there. The businessman is tied to the government, so it's a channel. Can a newspaper, can the editorial policy really be objective? But even in all that, are our newspapers really as controlled? So there's a degree of freedom that we are talking about. We are not as bad as newspapers in autocratic countries and dictatorships, not like China, but at the same time we don't have the kind of freedom, no one has, not even in the US, the kind of freedom that you expect. The total freedom, editor must be objective, the fourth this thing of the government. No, the freedom is to a large extent curtailed by the constraints under which the press operates, and you can bring that out. Again, write something logically. Okay, Sejal, just go to YouTube. You can see my earlier WAT classes. Let me just take a gulp of water. All right, I want some of your views on the next topic. Do you think technological power in the world is too concentrated? Is it? Where is it concentrated, and what are the consequences? 3 points. Is it too concentrated? Yes or no? Give me your answers. Why N? That's it. Tech power. Is it concentrated in small pockets? Over concentrated? Yes, no. Quick. Type in, man. Y and N. That's all. Is it? What do you think? Is tech power too concentrated? Question. Yes. All right. What about the others? No. All right. I've already got 2 answers. Okay. If it is yes, how so? Who is the person? Who are the few people who are holding tech power? If it is no, why not? Right? You have your essay. You should have enough examples to go ahead with it. That's how you plan your essay. So you can start directly saying yes or no, give your stand, give your main reason in your intro itself. Okay, Akhil, Sejal, whoever. So Sejal thinks yes, it is too concentrated. Sharda thinks it's too concentrated. Why is it too concentrated? How is it too concentrated? In whose hands is it concentrated? Name a few companies, name a few countries, name a few areas of the regions of the world where you think it's too concentrated, and what are the consequences of that. Correct? If it is not, that's how, why do you say that? Now you're building your argument, why you think it's not concentrated, right? How knowledge is spreading, how maybe innovations are concentrated, but the effects of that innovation is spreading all over, everyone. And then you build your argument. Okay? And this is something I came across today. Tech layoffs. Why are companies firing so many people? Do they really save money by doing that? Why are they firing? What's the logic behind? Every day you read, right? Amazon. Today I think it was Microsoft. Why? What's the reason? And you have a long, detailed essay on this. बहुत सारे points है. What are you going to write on it? Right? All right. So what are you going to do? Want you to write on. I've given you how many? 12 topics in this class. 10 topics in the earlier class, I think. I'm not sure how many I've given. 10 or 12 in the earlier class. What do you need to do? Olympics, I thought somewhere I had mentioned. No. Can India afford Olympic Games? That's the other one. Each time you look at a topic, read it, think, mentally plan what are you going to write. You think you can write an essay on it, don't do it immediately. Certain things are mandatory, like budget, definitely, press freedom, definitely, then environment versus economic growth versus environmental protection, and this more for MBA, MBA versus WorkX, again a very general topic. These 4, write an essay. Okay, time yourself to 20 minutes, 15 minutes and write the essay. Okay, for the other topics, plan the outline in your head. All right, and every time you read the editorial, put the paper down and say, okay, if this was the topic on which I have to write an essay, how would I write it? Okay, so think about it, jot down a few points, at least make the outline for these essays. All right, any questions? Any questions on that? And those of you who haven't watched the first session, please watch it. I did give you all the background concepts. I went through it again. But in that, I had made it actually simpler. Then students came back and asked, no, give us some different ways of introduction, do this, do that. So I gave this in more detail. I normally don't do it in so much detail because I realized that 15-20 minutes, you can't really do all that. But I did give you some suggestions this time. Any questions? Oh yeah, Sharda. All right. Okay. Good. Thank you for reminding me. See, I'm becoming very forgetful. All right. So now, AWT would give you a small case. Okay. One of the cases that I remember is that higher education in India is subsidized. So should the IITs, people who study, graduates from IITs. No, it is in the form of an argument that higher education in India is subsidized. So graduates from IITs and medical schools should return the entire education, their entire amount spent on their education back, give it back to the government if they decide to go abroad. All right. So they will ask you, how well reasoned do you, because it's taxpayers' money, we are paying for their education, which is highly subsidized, and these people study in an IIT and or medical college or wherever, and then they go abroad. So the argument says, so if you study in an IIT and the education with a reasonable fee structure, you decide to go abroad, you need to give back your entire fees that has been spent on you back to the institute. Okay, the question will, so this is the small case or argument given to you. Clear? Then in a GMAT format, there is a general question which says, discuss how well reasoned you find this argument. For example, what are the unsupported assumptions made by the author? Find out ways in which additional evidence can make the argument stronger. Now, what IIM Ahmedabad does is, it asks you questions. Okay, so it will, after this argument is given, there is a question with a space provided, Sharda, where they say, what is the conclusion or main claim of the argument? Okay, what are the assumptions made by the author of the argument, or what is the assumption, what are the assumptions behind the claims made by the author? Okay, do you agree with it and do you disagree with it? Give reasons for your answer. So a specific question is given. The other question that I remember, I'll discuss it in the actual class, was that Galileo, Pythagoras, Newton, their discoveries, their inventions have helped mankind, benefited mankind. So they should be respected more than a Shakespeare or a Wordsworth, something like that. What is the author's conclusion? What is the reasoning used by the author, by the argument or in the argument? Do you agree with the author or not? What is the assumption? What are the assumptions? Identify the assumption. So it is like a CR question. When you look at the argument, you identify what are the facts given. The facts that are given to you are the premises. Here, IIT education is subsidized. Many IITians go abroad. These are the premises given. What is the author's conclusion? Because it is taxpayers' money, okay, he suggests that it should be returned by going abroad. What is the assumption? That when an IIT graduate goes abroad, the taxpayers' money is wasted. That's the assumption. So the moment you look at the argument, you identify the premise, the assumption and the conclusion, and then you answer whatever questions have been asked. It's just like a critical reasoning question that you, it's a where you have to write down the answers instead of an MCQ critical reasoning question. All right. So in a GMAT template, it's harder because they will just ask you how well reasoned do you find it, what is the missing evidence. Here they're specifically asking you the questions and giving you space for it. So even in that case, don't start writing. Look at the argument, read it, identify the conclusion, the claim that the author is making, the prediction that the author is making, that is the conclusion. The facts that he is giving to support that prediction is his premise. And the thought that is connecting the premise to the conclusion is the assumption. So once you are clear on that, you can frame the idea, the answers better. All right. Is that clear, Sharda? Okay. 24th or 28th. I don't remember the date exactly. I have so many classes. 24th, I think. I'm not very 24th. Yeah. I have a session. We will do AWT on that day. where I will take the past year papers, past year questions, whatever student. See, this is my request to you also. The moment your PI is done, please put it on the toppers batch, Telegram group, whichever WhatsApp group that you have. Please tell us the questions you got, the topics you got, which will make it easier for us to teach the next batch of students, right? So we know what was asked. So each of these, whatever topics I have, whatever cases I have, I will discuss, because that requires a little, it's just like critical reasoning. And if you want to practice on it, there are lots of topics that we have of Ahmedabad. But if you don't get enough, at least look at the MBA university, you get those GMAT topics. Official GMAT website has 3000 topics for AWT. Just look at one of them and practice on one or two. How well reasoned do you find the argument? What is the claim? What is the conclusion? What is the assumption? What is the premise? If you can break the argument into this, that is enough practice for you. All right. And I'll see you next class. I'll take up cases and ask you to write. Meanwhile, work on the WAT. All right, Sharda? Okay. All right. Any other question? No? All right. I hope you enjoyed the session. Do write those essays. Okay. Time yourself while writing. All the best for your WAT and PI sessions. To each and every one of you, God bless you. May you get into your Dream B school. And if this session helps you, give us feedback in terms of, one, of course, like the session. That way I can get more sessions. Second is give us feedback. This was my topic. This is how, these are the questions I got. So that will help us. You are the people who are going to face the music. You are the people who are actually facing the panel. We only have second-hand information on the questions. So if you help us, we can help the students better for the next batch. All right. I will see you very soon in another class. Until then, all the best. Bye-bye.